Alright, so we're back to working on a few two-stroke cars, or I should say vans. The blue van here in the forefront is my little Subaru 360 van, which I've driven for many, many years, and on the last video I noticed the brakes didn't feel right. I think one of my wheel cylinders is leaking and it's causing the brakes to not be snappy. The other van here needs much more than brakes. It needs everything. It's just in the infancy of its restoration, and you'll be seeing more posts on this as that job goes on. But for today, being a Sunday, my day off, I want to use this van and I don't like brakes that don't work good. So we're going to drive this thing in here, figure out which wheel cylinder is leaking. I have a rebuilt set that I think I'm going to swap out and then get rebuilt. I've rebuilt these, I should say the set that's on here, 2, 3, maybe 4 times, and I'm just like, I'm done. I think they're just wallered out. They need to be re-sleeved and redone professionally. I've given them the benefit of the doubt. I would be surprised if it wasn't this side that leaks, because it seems like every year I get a leak on this side. I put a new seal in it, rebuild it, kind of hone it out a little bit, and then a year later it leaks. So let's pull in the shop and get to work and see what we find. All right, so we are in a two-stroke car. Cleaning mode is spring cleaning, you might say. This is our beloved Subaru 360 van. It is painted Audi Pelican Blue, I believe. Love that color. It is in for some brake work. The last time we took it out, dug it out of the garage, the brakes, they weren't making me happy. They weren't stopping sharp. I think I've got a brake fluid leak on the driver's side. It has 2 wheel cylinders per front wheel, and I'm just sort of done with rebuilding them. I've rebuilt that set of wheel cylinders, I think, about once a year for the last 3 years. I have a newly refurbished set ready to go on that's relined with brass, I believe, and all new seals. So that's that two-stroke car. We've got this two-stroke car up on the lift. It's been there much too long. The sun is out. It's time for it to come down. And to get that car out, I had to get all the other cars out. And this one here is in, you can see, poor little thing. It's a little Subaru 360. It's quite dusty. And it has dual expansion chambers on it that I custom made off of a Yamaha, what do you call them? Not a Raptor. Oh, those quads that make a lot of noise. They're 350 cc's. Banshee. That's it. Banshee. It has Banshee pipes that I put on. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing running. I think if the battery's up, it should fire. All right, so we are doing some service work on our beloved blue Subaru 360 Sandbar van. It's a 1969. I've got it up on the rack here, and I've been complaining about the brakes not working well. They're just not sharp. They work. But as I suspected, and this is kind of a mess, there's a small leak. One of these wheel cylinders, these are both it's called a duo servo blind system. In other words, you've got one wheel cylinder that pushes this way and another one that pushes this way. And that kind of creates a wedge in the brake shoe department, which gives you more braking power going forwards. Going rearwards, it's awful. So you have very little brakes in reverse. And this was abandoned, of course, when disc brakes came along. But what I wanted to show you was they're not leaking a lot, but if you look, see how I'm leaving like a smeary fingerprint? The brake shoes aren't dry. And I can correspond that with these. Let me turn my light on this right here. The brake drum here, if I run my finger across, it's not moist, but it's just tacky, which means that there's no coefficient of friction. So we're going to clean up the rim, we're going to clean up the drum, we might repack the bearings. What's neat, and I hope I don't overwhelm you with Subaru 360 tech, is the speedometer is driven off of this driver's front wheel. The bearing dust cap, which goes to the outside of the wheel, very outside, has this little prong snake tongue little drive mechanism that goes inside the hub like this, and it engages with the speedometer cable. So as the wheel turns, it engages the the speedometer. So you can see the speedometer cable is this one with the spring wound around it. I have upgraded the brakes on this, and that might be why they stop sharply with stainless steel brake lines. But I need to clean all this up in here. This is just driving me crazy. I hate having a car that's all greasy, especially if the brakes don't work. So that really drives me nuts. I wanted to show you one more thing that I found. If I can show it to you, is my tie rod ends. Can you see that there? See the play in that? It's not good. Tie rod ends for Subaru 360 are extremely hard to find, and I'm gonna blow you away with a part number here, I believe will work. That's a BMW, I think it's a 5 Series tie rod end, which takes a little modification, but it works great for a Subaru 360. So file that away in your data logs, because Subaru 360 van tie rod ends are impossible to find. Now, almost as impossible are the wheel cylinders. So these are the rebuilt, re-sleeved wheel cylinders I had done by Carps. I'm going to put these on the van. There are 4 of them here, 2 for each front wheel, and they are specific uppers and lowers, left and right. I don't know which is which here. I got to go through and figure it out. They're 15/16, so they're bigger than a sedan. Sedans are 13/16. So they're only used for the Subaru vans and trucks, and each one is used for a specific corner. So that makes them very rare. If you have one go bad, or if you lose some, you're in trouble. These are very hard to come by. It's not cheap to have them rebuilt. I don't remember what I paid for these, 75 bucks a piece, I think, but it's well worth it. You need your brakes. These are the rebuilt adjusters. They go right in there like that, and you can spin these little star wheels to adjust your shoes. And the little tabs typically break off, which go right here, kind of keep those locked in place. Doesn't make too much of a difference, but it's nice to have those functional. So I'll put those together. So these wheel cylinders are going on the van up here. Get rid of these leaky things. I'm going to soak these shoes. They still have a lot of meat on them in brake clean them up, clean up the backing plate, clean up the swing arm, and replace the tie rod ends, I hope. So stay tuned. We'll see where we are next time I take a video. Okay, so we are partway through our repair here on our Subaru 360 van, and I'll show you what's going on here. We've got our new wheel cylinders, leading, trailing. Again, these are blind hole and they're specific. I painted and cleaned the swing arm, the shock, the backing plate, and let's get a light in here so we can show you what's going on. Well, maybe you can see that. So what we're doing is we're changing out the tie rod end. I think I showed you, if I wiggle this wheel, let's see if you can see this. You see that? Tie rod end going up and down. Tie rod ends are shot. Unfortunately, there are no Subaru 360 tie rod ends available, but there are BMW tie rod ends. They're very similar for like a 1980s 3.0 CSI. So we're gonna have hot rod performance ultimate driving machine tie rod ends on our Subaru 360. This one here is the Subaru 360 from the factory, and this one here is the BMW part. The only difference is this shank, taking the nut off here, is a little wider, right? I push the boot down. You can see the girth on this is a little thicker than the Subaru 360. So what I do is I just taper this a little bit, take it to the bench grinder, or you can ream out your spindle. Just take a bit on your die grinder like this, and just carefully with eye protection, just give it a little kiss, so that you can fit this tie rod end in place of this. The threading is all the same. So that's a tip and trick for you that you won't get anywhere else. I hope you use it well. Tie rod ends for Subaru 360s cars and vans and trucks are impossible to find. So don't tell everybody. This is a secret, trade secret. So we're going to get back to our Subaru 360 here. We've got our backing plate cleaned up, new tie rod end. We'll give it an alignment, and we'll be stopping good soon. Don't forget to grease your kingpin. See the grease nipple up here? There's also one at the steering center here that keeps your bellows full of grease and your worm drive full of grease. And there's also a kingpin greaser on that side, right up there. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, my glove is. So, all right, let's get back to work and get this thing back together. All right, so we're finishing up on our Subaru 360 two-stroke little van. We've got our new tie rod ends on, and now the wheels are nice and tight when I shake them. There's no play like there was in the old tie rod ends. This wheel, or the boots for the wheel cylinders, are rubbing just a little bit on there on the drum. I think that'll work out once I bleed them, but that's what the squeak is for. If you're not familiar with the Subaru 360, the brake fluid reservoir is right there under the dash. It's that white bottle with the line running down, and the master cylinder is actually under the pedal cluster on the floor there. And when you bleed the brakes, it's kind of neat. If you have the vehicle up in the air, you can just reach up and grab the brake pedal, and you can watch the fluid. I've got it running up on the side of my post there as I'm flushing out the lines here. You can see the air coming through as I pump the pedal. There's going to be a lot of air because there's 2 wheel cylinders per side, and they're completely dry, or they were. So we repacked the bearings right there, and we adjusted the shoes all the way back. And then once we get them bled, and actually I should probably do this now, is you can use these little sight holes here and adjust the shoes out so that the pistons don't have to travel so far, and it'll give you a better brake feel. So we're working on that, but just wanted to give you an update. The tie rod ends are in, the little van is happy, and we'll be driving her soon. I've got to do an alignment, and I don't like the tie rod on that one side, the driver's side. The threads don't seem very tight. I'm going to actually replace it and defect it out. So that's what's going on, and I'll give you an update once that's done. All right, so I've got my Subaru 360 two-stroke van back on its wheels again. We have the new tie rod ends installed, it's aligned, and wheel bearings are packed, and the brakes are bled, flushed, and checked. In other words, once I did all the flushing, checking, and adjusting, I pulled the drums back off just to make sure everything was good. The wheel cylinder boots are a little squeaky. They're a little oversized, and they kind of rub on the drums, and they create a bit of a squeak. We're going to take it for just a little quick drive and make sure the brakes are sharp. And what I mean by that is that they stop quickly. Subaru 360 vans have pretty good brakes, and they can, if you jam on them, they should be able to snap your nose against the windshield. So we're going to start it up. We're going to put it in reverse, take the brake off. Oh yeah, I adjusted the e-brake too, so just 3 clicks now. It's nice. And we'll back up out of the shop, check the brakes. Yeah, they're not too great in reverse because of the dual servo type of a brake system that they are. Well, let's try first. So first gear is back. Give it a little gas. Oh yeah. See how the nose of the van really dips? Pretty good. Pedals firm. I think the job is complete. Yes. That's so nice. We'll just stand back and admire our work here. We got to move on to all these cars. But it's good to have my little Subaru 360 van back in working and safe shape. I'm going to go drive it around the block a little more just to make sure that the steering wheel bar, crossbar is centered, That drives me nuts when you're driving straight down the highway and the bars like that. So I'm going to check my alignment. So I'll do that, and then I'm going to drive it around, whoops, and enjoy it. This coming up weekend is supposed to be 95 degrees, so it's going to be hot. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out my little two-stroke Subaru 360 van. If it could talk, it would say thank you, and thanks for checking me out.